Good morning. I'm Kathleen Kirby. I'm the Executive Director of Connect, and it is my privilege to work for the 6 chief executives of the Connect Partnership to advance the cause of public higher education in Southeastern Massachusetts. Welcome, good morning, and thank you for that. It's also my privilege this morning to introduce David Cedrone, who will give an introduction to our morning's program. David is the Associate Commissioner for Economic and Workforce Development at the Massachusetts Department of Higher Education. David oversees the alignment of education and training programs at the state's public universities and colleges with the needs of local business and industry. He also assumes a new responsibility within the department as Executive Director of the Governor's STEM Advisory Council. David brings a strong management and technology background to this role, having previously worked for both compact and digital equipment. A lifelong resident of Massachusetts, David also served on behalf of the Governor of Rhode Island as Director of Project Making the Grade. He holds a Master's in Education Technology and Education degree from Lesley University and an MBA from Northeastern University. Welcome, David. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kathleen. Welcome, everyone, on this little bit dreary morning, but there's great energy in the room, and I think it's this energy, as Representative said, that is really going to lead us all out of these challenging days into much more promising days ahead. I do want to welcome everyone and thank Kathleen and President Wall and all the representatives of the Connect community. This is a wonderful organization doing really critically important work. I also want to extend my welcome on behalf of Commissioner Freeland at the Department of Higher Education. The Commissioner is very excited about, very focused on this issue of economic and workforce development, the alignment of our public higher education system to meet the needs of business and industries in this region and across the state. So he sends his welcomes along as well. My focus, as Kathleen mentioned at the department, is really to concentrate on aligning the public higher education system at all levels to meet the economic and workforce needs of companies represented in this room and across the Commonwealth. The work of the Connect organization, I think, is a wonderful representation of what's happening at the local and regional level. So critical. The institutions here understand this local marketplace, this local community so intimately, and convening this room of people to engage in these conversations. We desperately need this work to be underway, and the Connect group is really to be applauded for doing that. My role is to really look at how do we integrate and align this on a statewide basis. So I'm engaged in these kinds of conversations in other regions across the state, and really trying to understand where we have best practices that are emerging in different regions. How can we share those best practices between regions? How can we identify things that are working particularly well and bring them to scale? One of the challenges that I've seen in my work, Kathleen mentioned some work that I've done on the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math front, mostly at the K-12, K-16 level. While we see some wonderful individual pieces of work underway, the challenge that we've faced is how do we recognize those, how do we bring them to scale, how do we replicate good practices, how do we not reinvent the same practice multiple times over in multiple places around the state? Because frankly, we all know we don't have the resources to do that today. So I come here today really looking to learn as much as I hope to be able to contribute. Certainly, I hope I will be able to contribute to the conversations. But I think a lot of this for me is about learning from the local conversations, learning what you're discovering and developing and implementing right away to meet immediate needs, and how does that relate to similar activities that I may see elsewhere in the state. How can I then bring that back on a statewide conversation about how better can we build upon the wonderful strengths? And we do have terrific strengths in our public higher education system. I think you know that from the institutions that are serving you here locally. The greatest percentage of all of our students in Massachusetts attend our public higher education systems. Those students are most likely to stay here in the Commonwealth and become the workers of the future. So it's critically important that we have a robust, efficient, and the highest possible quality public higher education system. That's the message that Commissioner Freeland is leading with the Vision Project, and that's really about starting from a wonderful and strong base and building upon that base, and really, as I've mentioned, understanding how do we take the local implementations and the local excellence that we see in so many places and begin to understand how do we scale that? How do we bring that to other regions of the state? Because increasingly our industries, some of the growth industries that present a wonderful opportunity for us, while they operate locally, they provide jobs locally, in many cases they do have a broader multi-regional statewide perspective. They're looking for greater coordination across our institutions. They see the challenges that their employees, our children, our students face as they may enter higher education in one institution for a variety of needs, need to transfer to another institution elsewhere in the state, either for personal reasons or for job-related reasons. And we want to make sure that that's a seamless as possible a system so that students can very effectively, very efficiently proceed through that public higher education system, meet the needs for the skill development that our companies have, while at the same time learning to learn and building that capacity that allows them not only to be ready for the next job, but for the job after that and the job after that. So that is how we see the challenge here in the public higher education arena, is how do we build off the local strengths, how do we scale some of those capabilities, how do we make sure that our system looks more like a system, as much like a system as we can, as is possible, because that's increasingly important for those industries that really are spanning the regions of the state. Kathleen mentioned that my previous work and currently also at the department is Executive Director of the Governor's STEM Council. STEM, for those of you who might not be familiar, is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It really represents the underpinning of knowledge and skill for so many of the jobs that I'm sure are represented in this room. It's not just that set of jobs that we might think about as what I casually refer to as the white lab coat scientist or engineer. I think we all know that at every career level, at every job level, there's an increasing demand for knowledge and skill and awareness in these subjects, and frankly, for every citizen of the state to be effective citizenry, to be able to vote intelligently, to be able to take on some of the social challenges that we will face, the social issues that we will face. There's a strong underpinning, and science, technology, engineering, and math is critical to that, as a critical foundation for that performance of our citizenry. The governor and the lieutenant governor took a charge on this roughly about 18 months ago, I think, while I was still down in Rhode Island, formed the Governor's STEM Advisory Council. That led to the formation of a number of committees from across the state, representatives from all corners of the state. They made a series of recommendations. That all came together, frankly, came together on my desk 2 days after I arrived at my desk this summer with a charge to turn that into the first ever statewide STEM plan. We announced that plan at the end of September at the 7th STEM Summit out in Sturbridge. So we now have a roadmap and a framework, but it is built very much on the model of what we have here at Connect. In fact, Kathleen is also leading the regional STEM network. So it's that same model of we recognize that the engagement locally is critical. That's where the relationships happen, that's where people live, that's where the businesses are, that's where the economy really is. So we need to draw from that local experience, but we needed a framework to be able to take the best ideas, the best practices, recognize which ones we can drive to scale, which ones can we really affect policy changes and changes in the larger system that might eliminate some barriers or provide enhancements that really allow us all to move as rapidly forward as possible. So I think I have a bit of a framework that I draw from my STEM experience. I'm applying that now, bringing that in as a perspective into my larger workforce development conversation. I see many of the same characteristics, and what's going on here this morning with the Connect community, I think, is a wonderful example of that leadership happening locally. So, as the representative said, I thank you all for your contribution. I thank you tremendously for being here today. This is critical work. these public-private partnerships really, really matter. This really, I think, is going to be the difference in terms of how we move forward. No one can do this alone. Government can't do this alone. Industry can't do this alone. The challenges are bigger and broader than that. So the partnerships represented by Connect really will be the difference as to how we emerge rapidly from these economic challenges and lead the nation. With that, I say again, thank you for your presence. I look forward to meeting as many of you as I can today. Those of you who I don't meet personally, if there's anything I can do, please don't hesitate to contact me at the department, and I'll be here and around throughout the day. If you have any questions, please find me, but I look forward to contributing and learning as we go through the day. Thank you very much.